Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Allstate agent Lonnie Jones. He's been on the show for a few months now. I just wanted to tell you, 43 years he has been providing top-notch homeowners and auto insurance for East Tennesseans. His 6-member team offering fantastic rates on policies right now. Homeowners, car insurance. Call them, compare this week. Doesn't cost you anything to compare. Lonnie Jones, Allstate. Love him, good guy. All right. Fill in the blank. Josh and Chuck. All right, fill in the blank. A Peyton Manning story from 1996 became bigger news in 2016 because blank.
Say the retweet button. And that's because, Chuck, with social media, a story goes up with the New York Daily News, and before anybody knows exactly what has happened with the story, it's been read by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yes, and they're reading it like this just happened. A lot of people don't put it in the context of when it did happen. And then you have women's group or somebody coming out saying Peyton should not be able to endorse certain products too. Call them for that. I mean, it just goes overboard to me.
All right, so social media is what you guys agree on. That's what changed it. I would agree with you. Here's the thing, that I wrote it as 1996 to 2016, but even 2003 when this lawsuit. This stuff, the documents were there. It didn't become a big story nationally. Social media has changed all that. You work in the media, Mike, you're still in it over there at the Sentinel. The idea of a viral story, that's the last 5 or 6 years.
Can I chime in on their
Sure
question? I think also it's a bigger story today because of the sexual assault is a bigger issue today, I think.
All right, I think that's fair. I still think the reason it's a bigger story now, though, is social media. If he had done this 20 years ago and you had social media at the time, I don't know that he ever comes out of UT with as good as image as he did. Because I think you would have had this kind of blow up 20 years ago if people who could just sit there and do that. No, I don't like Peyton Manning, so I'll retweet, which I think is what you get. Bob and Mike, here's your question. Blank are to blame for the lack of fair, measured, complete coverage of the Manning story the last 10 days. Vol fans a lot of them are saying, why aren't they giving both sides? Blank are to blame for that.
Bob, I defer to you.
Okay, I'm going to say the media is to blame for it.
Okay.
Because this isn't, you don't live in a time, like you said, it's been retweeted, people pick it up. One of the jokes as I was exiting the newspaper industry was we now cover all the news that we can see from our windows. And people just don't put out reporters and
Hey, like that one, Mike.
And I just think that it's easy.
Okay.
It's easy to pick this story up and run with it. There's documents that you can get on the internet. You don't have to do real.
I think the media climate now, the immediacy, the lack of filter, so to speak. Now, some of the coverage is fair, but there's a lot that isn't.
I think it's the consumers. I don't think it's the media. I think it's us. If Sean King had written, how many articles have you ever read by Sean King?
Never heard of it.
That was my first.
My first too. This one takes off. Why does it take off? Tweet. Because people are retweeting it and liking it on Facebook. My thought is, we hear what we believe, what we want to believe now. Republicans go to Fox. Democrats go to MSNBC. Vol fans go to Vol fan websites that are going to tell them the Vols are going to be great. And if anybody else is, if this story had been Nick Saban, do you think anyone here would be saying, now let's be patient. You got to look at both sides. No, they'd be saying, oh, I hate Saban. Retweet. And that's what's happening to Manning, in my view. Media deserves some of the blame, but I think it's us as consumers because we've gotten to the point now where we don't ever want to hear a discouraging word. It's just, I believe this because I don't like this guy, or if it's great about Peyton, I'll retweet it because I love Peyton. I think we're the ones that make these stories bigger.
A funny thing about the demand for fair coverage is I think often we can grab to one side, though, and then just start hammering the other one. That's what happens when we demand fair coverage. We actually just start going after one of the sides.
I think that's true. And when I say we, that puts us, I guess, as media and fans of our own teams, we're guilty twice. In terms of being blamed for it. All right. When we come back, Tennessee has to play at South Carolina. The Gamecocks have lost one game at home all year. What's the prescription for Tennessee to pull a road upset? Mark Pancratz will try and spin something. Come on back on the Sports Source.